All right, let's get right into this video. Here's the main thing that you need to know about the Social Security Fairness Act when it comes to your actual payday if you're going to receive a payment, which is, of course, somebody who's receiving a pension from some other governmental entity or some other entity that didn't require them to pay into their traditional FICA taxes. So it's not for everybody. We're talking 3 million of the 72 million that are receiving Social Security benefits. You know how much it's going to cost, 200 billion. We do tend, just to be very clear on this, get a lot of comments from angry police officers trying to say they demand that they be paid back the benefits they're supposed to. For some of you who don't know the background of the Social Security Fairness Act, I'm going to give you a really quick definition of it. There's two main things. There's the GPO and WP. GPO gives benefits to the spouses and children of basically those people who had a government pension offset situation where basically they start to receive benefits that were taken away in the latter 1970s to try and make Social Security benefits last longer for the average American. The WP, so the first one, obviously very simple, straightforward. It's helping the widows, spouses, etc., the kids of those individuals. The WP, however, is a little bit more complex. Basically, if you have somebody who paid money into another pension, and then they got another job where they paid regular Social Security taxes, right? And they pay that into the FICA Social Security Trust Fund sort of situation. When they paid those additional taxes into their Social Security FICA, system, they didn't work as many years or pay as many years into that because they were paying a bunch of years into this other pension. And because of that, the Social Security system sees those benefits and sees that they're a lifetime, low earner, that they don't have as many years, there's a bunch of years with zeros on it. So because the whole system is progressive, it sees these government workers as impoverished people. And so it gives them this super big boost in benefits that they receive because it sees them as an impoverished person, not the person who's getting another pension, somewhere else and, had, decent earnings throughout their life, yada, yada. So it's a situation where government workers are getting a boost. So a lot of these people that are attacking me about this, they're just so angry. They're so pissed off. They're saying, no, I've got it wrong. I've got it wrong. None of the police officers, the teachers, the firefighters were ever supposed to receive this boost when this was all written and created. The counter argument to that was that they were being paid less working those types of jobs, the government jobs, and therefore this boost was there to push them upwards in how much they would have in their retirement so that the benefits would be better for them. I can see both sides. Both sides are correct. They were never supposed to have this boost in the first place. It was just something they didn't really work on. And then in 1983, they said, we're no longer going to give you this unfair advantage. But then at the same time, 2025, they're giving back the advantage because they realize, A, government employees don't make enough. They're super poor right now in their latter years because the benefits aren't enough because we had 4 years of really shitty economic policy, the reserve currency internationally, the petrodollar use, how farmers were doing all that stuff. And then, of course, the super CEOs of these shopping grocery stores were just ripping people off. So to be fair, that's what this comes down to. People wanting to know when they're going to get their boost, their extra check. And, I'm from the standpoint that if you take Social Security money and you give more of it to the American people who are supposed to receive benefits, I'm all for it. Like, that's my big thing. Do it, get it going, make it happen. Because, the other option, we keep seeing them slide 5 billion, 6 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion over to Ukraine and all these other countries. Like everybody's bitching about, 200 billion over 10 years to these teachers. Teachers don't make shit. They don't make money. It's hardly anything. They're broke most of the time. So, remember, these are the people that are supposed to be educating our youth. You want to know why our youth are, not getting such a great education? Because we don't pay talented people to teach them. We pay people barely anything. So when you pay people barely anything to do the education process, just to be clear, what you end up with are hardcore, this is what they want to do with the rest of their life people. They want to be a teacher. And they take a vow of poverty to live that life. Then on the other side, you have people who are just looking for a job to get paid. This job is available, so they took it, so they're teaching the youth. It's not a great setup, but it's what we have in America. That's why this first world country has such terrible education metrics against what other countries have. Now, this video with the timeline and the payment details, just to be aware, is ahead of where every other YouTuber channel is at, where every other, news station is at, legacy news, whatever, with information as to what's going on, when are they going to pay you your actual back pay and forward pay for the Social Security Fairness Act benefit boost. This is ahead of all of them. That means tomorrow, when they come out with some released information or timeline, and then somebody writes in the comments, oh, you're an idiot because this is how it's actually going to work. When I wrote this script, this is the most up-to-date information. Like the last video I did, somebody was like, well, you're an idiot because they've already posted online their letter from President Biden about, January 6th. When I wrote that script, none of those were posted online. So just to be fair, you have to look at the date. So just to kind of go through things real quick, look at the date of when this video was created. And now let's get specifically into the timeline details so that you understand what's going on. All right, bottom line is this. We know that all the way over here, it was presented to the president on 12/27/2024, right here from congress.gov. Okay, that means he's got the 10 days. You don't count Sundays. 8th is the last day, but 6th is when he's going to do the ceremony to have it signed. Cool. Now, with that said, people want to know when they're going to get paid. So the way that they're going to get paid, right, is that there will be a back paycheck. That means going back to January. There might be some month limitations on that, where they say, well, you can't receive this month, you can't receive that month, etc. But bottom line is, it's going back to January of 2024, somewhere over there. However, they may move it a little bit based off of, however they want to actually do payments. And then you have basically your forward paycheck, so that every month going forward, the teachers, the police officers, they'll get a bigger check per month, okay? Now, with that said, we know that the SSA released on 12/23/2024 a notification about what the employees have to say to people internally at the SSA. It's an internal document, an emergency message from the SSA, as to what the employees have to tell people when they call in about the Social Security Fairness Act. So we know that the bill, the 20th, 21st, that's when it was passing through the Senate. We know that by the 23rd, the SSA was already releasing a statement as to what their employees should be telling people when they call in. We can infer from this that President Biden likely reached out to Commissioner Colvin to release a statement on the 21st, 22nd, that, they at least took a day to write this up, to go ahead and tell people what to say about its potential passing. Since we know that this has both writing for what you should say before it passes and writing for what you should say after it passes, we know the SSA probably around the 22nd of December had noticed that they had to start working on the list of recipients, which is around 3 million-ish people. Right now, we know that there's around 72. Well, it's supposed to affect 3 million. We don't know the exact, and neither does the SSA. They're working on it right now. So we know that there's about 72 million recipients for Social Security benefits. Somewhere in there is a number of a list that the SSA has to create and then hand over to the IRS, who then hands it over to the Treasury. Now, we know this. We have to look at historically how long it takes for them to create lists. And then we have to look at factors that dictate how quickly they'll be able to go ahead and process things, okay? Yes, also, happy New Year's, everybody. Super happy New Year's. So it is today, January 2nd, because it's 1:06 a.m. But but an hour ago, it was 2025, January 1st. So with that said, the closest thing that we have to seeing how quickly they could create a list and how quickly they could go ahead and get that list out to the IRS to be processed to the U.S. Treasury to have the checks released, either direct deposit, mail, or basically direct express card, things like that. All right, so the closest thing that there is historically to this would be the economic impact payment, which were those COVID stimuluses, right? So we call the COVID stimulus payments the EIPs, the economic impact payments. We know that back then, March 27th, 2020, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, the CARES Act, was released. So March 27th, 2020. We know that April 2020, so, basically, later, but not that much later, right? We're talking about 2 weeks-ish, right? they were able to begin sending out the first payments. So around April 11th, the first direct deposits were being released for people to receive their first stimulus payment, right, for COVID. Now, we know that there was a hiccup because the SSI people had to have a list made, right? A list of all the SSI recipients. That's like 7 to 8 million people, not 3-ish million. So 7 to 8 million people who are essentially going to receive that stimulus payment. So what happened was there was a whole kerfluffle between Biden and the then Commissioner Saul about this list. And what happened was, and I'll get you the thing real quick. What happened was basically Biden got pissed at the then commissioner of the SSA for releasing this list too slowly. It was slow rolled to the IRS. So what happened was basically Commissioner Saul at the time of the Social Security Administration went to the IRS and said, hey, you got to pay my employees more money because they have to now create this list. And this list is outside of the tasks that Congress required them and limited them to do. And so basically the IRS said, yeah, you're right. We'll go ahead and pay your employees more to have to stay late, make up this list of SSI recipients to go ahead and pay them so that, bottom line, these SSI people get their check, your employees at the SSA get more money because they're doing more than they were actually hired to do by Congress. And Commissioner Saul said, cool. Now, that process took extra time. So around mid-May, about a month and a little bit more, so month to month and a half later, the SSI people started to get their checks, right? From basically when other people were originally receiving their checks. So it's a little bit over a month, right? So it passes 2 weeks-ish, they start getting out the direct deposits, and then a month and a little bit after that, the SSI people start to receive their economic impact payments. This is a timeline we can follow. However, you need to consider one big thing. The current commissioner of the SSA is not going to make the same mistake that Commissioner Saul did. Commissioner Saul, like a good CEO of the SSA, supported his employees. And while supporting his employees and asking them to be paid more money for doing additional tasks, it pissed off the President of the United States, who actually needed Commissioner Saul out for, his future plans with the SSA. So Biden already knew he wanted Saul out, and he wanted to put Commissioner Kijikazi in. And then Commissioner Kijikazi was taken out as the acting commissioner, and they put in Martin O'Malley. And Martin O'Malley's job was to work and fix things inside the Social Security Administration, but also be a cheerleader for the Democratic Party about basically fixing Social Security and ringing the bell on the problems that exist within it, which he did a great job. He did a very good job with that. So the bottom line here is Commissioner Saul was fired by Biden because he took too long to go ahead and process those economic impact payments. So let me read to you real quick. Biden fires head of Social Security Administration, a Trump holdover who drew the ire of the Democrats. That was on July 11th. So you have April, May, July. So a month after basically the SSI impact payments, the SSI's COVID stimulus payments were paid. Then basically a month after that, Commissioner Saul got onto a plane. And then, by the time he got off the plane, he was fired. Okay. And Saul was fired after refusing a request to resign. White House officials said his deputy, David Black, who served as the agency's top lawyer before his appointment by former President Donald Trump, resigned Friday upon request. Biden named Khalil Kijikazi, the current deputy commissioner for retirement and disability policy, to serve as acting commissioner until the White House identifies a permanent nominee to lead the agency. Cool. So the point is, just to be clear, okay, with this whole situation, the new commissioner is not going to make that same mistake that Commissioner Saul did. Commissioner Saul supported his employees, which then cost him his job. And that's how government works. Government is the shittiest corporation on earth. Like, you want to know about people screaming, bosses angry, people misbehaving and then not getting fired because it's the government. That's the government. Okay. But if you anger the big boss, right, somebody usually gets fired. And that's the ironic thing. If you look at the practices of Biden hardly ever fired people that he brought in. But when it came to Trump people, he was finding a way to terminate their existence, which is what presidents do. They're trying to get the other team out and not have it look like a political firing. Of course, what didn't hurt that was that there was a Supreme Court ruling. And that Supreme Court ruling said basically, just to be fair, that President Biden didn't need cause to fire Commissioner Saul because that agency position was considered a quasi-cabinet position. So what that means, if we look at the SSI situation, is that about 2 weeks is what it will take for them to create the list and then go ahead and make the payments begin coming out. So 2 weeks to make the list, make the payments, start going out through the IRS, through the U.S. Treasury, and boom, to receive it. Now, what does that mean for you? It means that the Democrats were smart with their timing on this. They slow rolled the shit out of this whole thing. You will remember, I waited from the 20th to the 21st to the 22nd to the 23rd to the 25th to the 26th to release a video saying, hey, there might be a problem here because there's not been a presentment to the president. There's been no, the president hasn't signed it. The president is on vacation. And, bottom line is he's got 10 days, not counting Sundays. Then the internet went up into flame. Every Social Security channel after that point basically came out with a video explaining how much time the president has to actually sign this bill. And so that's one thing we have to acknowledge, that this channel is now so big that when I release something about something a politician did that was wrong, or the SSA missed something, or they did something incorrect, sometimes somebody will see that, right? And then they'll go and fix it as quickly as they can. I don't know if that's what happened in this situation, but what I think is what happened is that I didn't matter. What mattered was they knew they had to slow roll it because they wanted to release the information on a specific day. Now, what specific day are they signing the Social Security Fairness Act? Obviously, the 6th. What is happening on the 6th? On the 6th, the federal government will be validating the election results. So what's happening is President Biden and all the other Democrats knew that their biggest win for a massive population of beneficiaries to get future Democratic votes would be to go ahead and downplay the Republicans winning the House, the Senate, and the White House. So the ironic thing is that this bill is being released, specifically slow-rolled, so that on the official day where they validate the votes at the federal government level, because remember, the states have to validate their votes earlier, but on the official federal where they validate it, they seal the package and they say, "Mwah, these are the results of the election." That's on January 6th. So this will be bigger than the finalizing the votes, which is basically spitting in the face of the Republicans. So it was a very smart move for the Democrats, very smart move for them. Now, with that said, unfortunately, by doing this, they pissed off a lot of people by slow rolling the entire process of releasing this. If I were president, and basically had the Social Security Benefit Act come out, I would have literally been there outside of the Senate chamber to receive the signed document from the Senate showing this many yays, this many nays, and I would have then had a table right outside those big doors where I'm signing it and everybody's behind me. Also, to be fair, the reason why is everybody knew that I was going to pass the Senate at that point. It had enough sponsors, co-sponsors, etc. And to be fair, what that does is it then shows my interest in making sure it gets passed. Now, a lot of people acted like moron geniuses. They were on the channel comment section being like, well, you're an idiot because he never got presented the document. I'm like, no. We made that video before they released the notification through congress.gov because they slow rolled it from basically the 21st through to the 27th to actually get to him. My belief at that time was that there was a problem and that they had already presented to him, and we were losing days on the clock until basically we'd have a turnover, and we didn't know when Congress was going to be in or out and how many days we had during that 10-day period as to when this thing had to be signed by, or else it would become potentially a pocket veto, which isn't going to happen in this case. It's not. He's going to sign it. It's not going to be an issue. We're going to be fine. So here's the deal. Now that we know all this, now that we know kind of what's going on, this chair is falling apart on me. Now that we know what's going on, it is my belief that it takes them about 2 weeks to populate a list. Now, remember, a lot of SSA employees There's the Christmas holiday, there's the New Year's holiday, etc. So we're missing some days in there as to when these individuals could be calculating this to get it ready to push forward. But one of the intended benefits of him slow rolling the receiving of the document is that it gives the SSA more time to get the list together as to who should receive the back pay and forward pay increases. So let's say the SSA knew on the 22nd that this thing was passed, that Biden was officially going to sign it, that they were officially going to go ahead and do something. So if we look 2 weeks into the future, right, we go to our calendar. All right, let's say we don't count basically, and we can make up whatever days here because you never know when they were there, even though it was a holiday, etc. So let's count it out. So we're at the 21st, right? So 22nd SSA. No, sorry, it was the 23rd that the SSA released the notification as to how employees from an internal document should react to this. And so the bottom line is we know by the 23rd they had given a response to that. So let's say on the 22nd they had noticed to go ahead and start beginning the process of figuring out who's going to get the benefit increases. So you look at the 22nd, right? That's a Sunday. So Monday the 23rd. So people come back to office on Monday the 23rd. Let's go through this real quick. So let's count 2 weeks. So we go through the 23rd to the 30th. And 30th basically to the 6th. The 6th is officially 2 weeks from when the SSA was likely notified and they could start working on this. Now, there's something else you have to keep in mind because I think this is really important so that you understand it. When they had to create the SSI list for the stimulus checks for COVID, the SSI list is tougher because SSI people don't file a lot of tax information. SSI people lose, sell their phones, all that stuff all the time. SSI people change addresses all the time. So creating an up-to-date, proper SSI list of SSI beneficiaries is really, really difficult because, to be fair, they just, they don't have constant, consistent, contact information. Whereas the government employees that worked multiple pensions, these are people who have filed taxes before, kept the IRS up to date with their living address, probably have a home that they're paying a mortgage on or have already paid it off. So realistically, this list is much easier to populate than the SSI people. I believe that when Biden signs this, he will give a statement about the exact date that payments will start going out. And that was the brilliant move on behalf of the Democrats, because by making it so that they did presenting this document to the president all the way to the 27th, slow rolling the shit out of it and that was the thing, it didn't make sense at first because Biden had signed all of these 50 plus bills into law. And then the Social Security Act, he's like, there's my ugly stepchild sitting in the back over there. He put that on the back burner hard, So the interesting thing is that by doing this, it gave the SSA 2 weeks to get their list together as to who they can pay. So what he could do is on the 6th, he can sign it. And then basically he could say, okay, the SSA is officially going to start sending out payments. That way it looks seamless. And what that does is if he signs the Social Security Fairness Act on the 6th and he says that, hey, they're going to start sending out payments immediately, then that completely makes the Republican win on that day where they certified the federal level the votes look like the Republicans aren't winning as big as they should be. Because remember, that's supposed to be a big Republican day. That's a huge thing. So bottom line is, I think that within a day or days after the 6th, you'll start to see those back pay checks and those forward pay checks going out. And the forward pay checks are the check you receive each month going on thereafter for those pension beneficiaries. So bottom line, that's my assessment. I've reviewed a bunch of documents to get to this point. I went through the sensitive, not to be shared with the public, although this was a redacted one, documents as well released during the time periods. So to be fair, I think you're going to have almost an immediate release of the funds. And this is going to be one of the things that the Democrats do as the final notice to the American people as to why you should consider voting for them in the future. And the reason why they need this is because once we get to the inauguration day, Trump takes control and he is going to be rah, 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 and he's going to pass a Social Security change that is even bigger, more aggressive, affecting more people, having the benefit more directly to more Americans than the Social Security Fairness Act. So, which you guys know is the one where he's getting rid of taxation on the 50 percent at 25K earned and 85% at the 34K earned. So that's, that's kind of where things are at. That's where it should be going. Now, again, final note, this is a video made before anybody else on the topic of this. I do those because I work with the system all the time. I also talk with advisors that work with different government people. I also, I know that there are senators and House reps who subscribe to this channel. I also know that there are user accounts created specifically to comment on this channel, either to change something I've said in the comments or attack me or bolster me. So the point that I'm getting at with this is that at the end of the day, this all could change tomorrow. He could say, okay, we're going to sign this on the 6th and the payments will go out on the 15th or whatever. It is my opinion, though, that they will go out almost immediately because the SSA has had from the 22nd going forward. Notice that, they were intending to pass this thing and to start making the list. And Commissioner Carolyn Colvin is not going to make the same mistake that Commissioner Saul did, because Commissioner Saul made a huge mistake by going ahead and taking too long to get the COVID stimulus payments into the SSI beneficiaries' hands, who, of course, would argue, right, that the SSI people are the most in need for a benefit increase. So that's that. Anyways, I will catch you guys a little bit later. Please remember to like, subscribe, and become a member if you want. Head over to Google and type in disability resolution or disability law firm Florida. And if you could leave some stars, I always love seeing those. With those said, I will be going live tomorrow to answer questions. Well, technically it's this morning. It's 1:24 a.m. So I will be doing that tomorrow. I was just too tired and too sleepy with all the holidays and all the work I was doing. That was mostly manual labor work. With that said, if you want a private 1 hour, there's the mini contract below where you can go ahead and sign up for that. I will catch you all a little bit later. I'm going to head to bed because I've got to wake up early at 6 a.m. But just so you know, my roof is getting basically redone. And they have replaced so many pieces of plywood. You would be absolutely amazed at how much rotted plywood my roof had. But anyways, I will catch you a little bit later. I hope all's well, and we will see you in the not too distant future. Thank you so much, Attorney Walter Hnot. Sleep well, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.